Agric Economy on Air and Television, Abuja, Nigeria. I am Khadija Oluwatoyin. I'm in team. Welcome to the program. On today's episode of Agric Economy, we shall be taking a look at the impact of cooperative farming societies on the development of agriculture. With these, we know that cooperative societies provide locally needed services, employment, and input to farmers, as well as the cooperative also provide opportunities to farmers in organizing themselves in groups so that they can access government interventions such as the loan and seed improve seeding, sharing when that is coming up, and so a host of other benefits of what the cooperative society does for farmers. That's what we'll be looking at, and then we'll look at their impact. What important role do they play, and how has this role been properly interpreted into what we want in Nigeria today, which is sustainable agriculture. Yes, we have a guest who shall be taking a look at that with us, with Mr. Gabriel Diakolo. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Most farmers operate without modern production inputs. Their marketing system is unorganized, with each farmer acting individually to produce farm inputs and sell farm produce. Cooperative societies enable people to achieve through joint efforts what they are unable to achieve in developing countries, as the case may be in Nigeria. Agriculture dominates the nation's economy. It has been established that about 2% of Nigeria's population is engaged in agriculture, according to Albasi in August 2000, while 90% of Nigerian total food production comes from small farms and 2% of the country's population earn their living from these small farms. The recent importation of food items into the country to make up for the shortfalls in food supply is a dangerous indication of waning farm productivity and warning sign that if the nation continues with the business as usual, the prospect of food security will be black for millions of people. The terms employment, agriculture is far and the most important sector of Nigeria's economy, engaging about 70% of the labor force. Agricultural production is dominated by small-scale farmers, most whom live in rural areas. Crop and animals are produced on scattered farm holding. Most of the farmers operate without modern production inputs. The marketing system is unorganized, with each farmer acting individually to produce farm inputs and to sell farm produce. Cooperative society, on their part, enables people to achieve through joint efforts that they are unable to achieve while working as individuals. They are of the best method by which peasant farmers can take part in their own economic advancement and gain valuable experience of democratic produce and business management. The associations of persons who have voluntarily come together to achieve common objectives through the formation of democratically controlled organization, making equitable contributions to the capital required and accepting to fair share of the risk and benefits of undertaking. However, cooperative has been regarded as one of the main institutional machineries for empowering the economically weak member of the society. With this official recognition and the determination of government at all levels to transform agricultural production and raise the standard of living in the rural areas, many agricultural cooperative societies have been formed all over the country. Despite the effort or contribution made by the cooperative societies towards agricultural development in Nigeria, there are still lapses that need to be addressed.
Yes, like I said, we know that the role of cooperative society is one of the role is coming together and assessing federal government interventions of all sorts.
Yes.
Have they been able to play their own role after being, after getting these interventions from government?
There are cooperative societies that are farmers oriented, and there are cooperative societies that are politically oriented. That is, positioning themselves to be able to access government grants, fertilizers, seedlings, and the rest, to the detriment of the actual farmers. But when you look at the overall role of the actual cooperative societies that are involved in farming, you discover that they have gone a long way in ensuring improvement in farming practice in Nigeria. Because of the myriad of problems that farmers have in Nigeria, talk about accessibility to facilities, talk about farm implements and tools, talk about access to irrigation and the rest. These cooperatives, when they come together in a particular area, they tend to pull resources together to ensure that some of these needs are met within a short period of time. The cooperatives over time, the actual cooperatives, not the political cooperatives, have been able to merge funds together to assist each other in expanding their farming network. They have been able to merge funds together to ensure that they ease the problems of logistics by ensuring that they have transport vehicles that are being procured by cooperatives that are now used on profitable basis to be able to assist farmers in an agrarian area. And also we discovered that because of the peculiarity of the farming practice in those areas, the cooperative is able to impact positively because they are the set of people and group of people that know the peculiar problems that those areas have. So it is not hard for them to be able to provide solution to it because of the pooling of resources together. Unlike when such farmers individually seek loan from banks or other sectors. So because of the know-how of the area, if it's, for example, a rice growing area, for example, or a fishing community, for example, they know the peculiar problems that they have. So the cooperative being together, having the resources and the large pool of funds, will be able to intervene positively in those areas. And it has even been the lifeline of some of the local farmers that we have in Nigeria that do not have access to loans from commercial bank through to some of the requirements that they could not meet. So the cooperative have been impactful. The ones that are practicing in the agrarian areas and in the local level have been able to lift their members and be able to assist them to be able to meet our agricultural needs.
Okay, so how do we differentiate these? You talked about the political ones and those that are basically farmer
Yes.
oriented ones. How do that? Because we talk about youth going back to the farm,
Yes.
and then some people may fall victim as regards the mindset is to go into farming and
Yes.
see if they're able to also join the force in the sector, and then because as youth we easily get swayed away easily.
Yes.
You see that some youths go into it and see that if they now, for example, go into the political you know what's it called,
The
this
cooperatives,
society,
yes.
and then the fact that they now look away from farming and just wait for how to get farming implements, get good seedlings, and they're not even bringing it back into the main
Yes.
cause of what is being done. So how do vulnerable farmers who are just coming into the sector differentiate between these two societies?
Now, let me use the Anchor Borough program
For example.
of the past administration, which the CBN engineered and monitored as an example. You discover that the bulk of the people that got those loans for agricultural purposes were political farmers. Some of them do not even cultivate 1 acre of land, talk less of having hectares to be able to use those facilities for. You discover that over time, some of these political farmers collect these funds and divert it to other uses to the detriment of the actual farmers. The difference between them is that the political farmers have the connection and the information to be able to know where and where funds can come in, and they position themselves to be able to get as much as possible. While the normal farmers might not have that connection or the ability to be able to get that loans, even at the expense of their legitimacy and their farming practice. So now bringing it down for a youth to be able to identify the political cooperative and the actual cooperative, you should be able to go into a cooperative that already has existing creed and code, that are already practicing what they are preaching, that you can see the practices, you can see the evidences, and not just sitting down to go for meetings and not knowing anything at all about farming of that particular product or farm produce. What this means is that the political farmers group themselves into a cooperative without necessarily the know-how of the business. All they need to do is to be connected and ensure that they bring all the papers that are needed and be able to access the funds. But the actual farmers that are into cooperatives have the requisite experience and have practice experience as well, that can be shown, that cannot be denied. So any youth that is going into farming and wants to join a cooperative should look out for these things so that you can be adequately tutored and be able to be firmly grounded and not follow the ones that when they eventually use your name to get fertilizers, you will not even have a farm to go and use it for. You end up selling it in the market.
Okay, so looking at their impact now, of what impact are these, cooperative societies
Yeah.
to, our present, looking at the federal government's present
Yes.
sustainability and food sufficiency programs that they've been hammering on.
Now, their importances cannot be overemphasized because even as the government is trying to dish out its policies of expanding agricultural reach, we need these cooperatives to be able to assemble as groups, to disseminate the information, to be able to carry on government policies and to be able to execute it effectively. Because the government, if we want to make the program to be successful and effective, we need people that are on ground. And these cooperative societies or farmers are on ground and they can be able to tell the loopholes, they can be able to tell the challenges and also advise government accordingly. And they are even the critical mass that the government needs to jumpstart its policies on agriculture. So their importance cannot be overemphasized. The second aspect of it is that if not for these associations, probably we will only be living on subsistence farming in Nigeria, because it's these associations that go for research, they go for wide-ranging improved seedlings, or if it's poultry, they go for drugs and other things that will impact their businesses to ensure that the actual farmer and members of those cooperatives can be able to survive. Because if it has been on an individual basis, so many farms will have been extinct by now.
Okay, so looking at sometime in the last administration, there's been complaint, like you said, well, you cleared the hair somehow saying they were political. And what can government do? Because I remember vividly in the last administration, time of the former Minister of Agriculture,
Yeah.
when he invited the Bank of Agriculture into for a press conference and for loan to be given to, I think, aqua farmers
Okay.
and then the Bank of Agriculture stood their ground that they will not give it to associations.
Okay.
So how do governments, apart from these measures in sitting and ensuring that okay, these loans, yes, just come with your, what they did was come with your evidence of being a farmer, and then they
Yes.
have their requirements,
Yes.
and then they decide to work and not with the cooperative the
Yes.
societies.
Yes.
What negative impact or outlook is this going to be having in the long run of agricultural activities?
Now, the decision of the Bank of Agriculture then not to give it to cooperative was as a direct result of the failure of the political cooperatives to be able to pay back the loans. But be that as it may, we discover that even the traditional cooperatives that are actually practicing, they can assist their members. to ensure that they have these required documents to be able to meet up with the government request. Because if they come as a pool, it does not deviate the fact that the Bank of Agriculture requests individual submission and individual compliance. They can form a center, that is the cooperative now, form a center to assist their members, registered members, to ensure that they meet the requirement. Because at the end of the day, when those loans are disbursed, it is still the cooperative people that will benefit on the long run. So it is very, very important that the cooperative should not see it as a setback. Instead, they should see it as an opportunity of service to help their members to be able to file in and be eligible individually to be able to expand their farming practice. So it does not serve as a setback the way I see it.
Okay, quickly, my crew, they're already signaling for time. We'll take a quick break. Go and return the program continues. Stay tuned. Yes, it's still the program Agric Economy on AIS Television, Abuja, Nigeria. We're still talking commercial, cooperative, I beg your pardon, cooperative society and its impact on Nigerian agricultural development. And our guest, Mr. Gabriel Dakola, has been saying so much on the importance of, the cooperative society. Now, we know that if you go to rural areas, this cooperative society are the in thing. You cannot be a
Yes.
farmer and not
Without
belong to
belonging
a
to a
club.
cooperative. Yeah.
I remember vividly growing up back then on NTA when we go for this Tales by Moonlight. They used to have, I think the program was following us then, like, back then, as you know, as a young as a teenager. You don't see them come up with such programs. You don't see them come up with awareness. You don't see them come up with. Before now, I know that cooperative these cooperative farming societies are those that tell us okay, this weevil is disturbing beans. You hear it that this is happening. Well, you don't hear such things happen. Yes, we know that about technology, improved seedlings and everything
Yeah.
has come up. But then, aren't you seeing that the society is declining?
Actually, we cannot put the blame at the doorstep of the cooperative societies, because in as much as they have their roles to play, the role of uh, sensitization and information sharing is still 70% on the government side. And that is why we have the research institutes that are being funded by government and other multilateral agencies. Is in the time past, the expansion of research institute and the rest has not been as we see it now. So, and this research institute have the ability and the opportunity of information to be able to share to the public. Let's not also forget the cost implication of this information sharing, because the truth is that when you look at the cost implication, the cooperative might want to stay back to allow the traditional research institutes and other agencies to be able to share those information, because they might not have the capacity for it. So I look at it as the government and these multilateral agencies needs to encourage the cooperatives or bring them on board in the issue of information sharing, that is hearing their own side and experiences on what is happening before putting their own expert advice, because them going on the whole log alone to share this information might be cost intensive for them, and they might not want to go that route. So far so good that they have their members that they can share information with.
Cooperative society are supposed to have a direct contact with the rural areas, yeah, and what had how can you assess their impact in rural development?
Yeah. um, because cooperative societies, their primary function is to ensure the expansion of farming activities in that locality, and in the process ensure that there are logistical advancements in those areas to be able to ensure that the farmers are able to carry on the business with a relative ease. So when we are talking about their impact as regards what they bring to the table in the rural areas, in areas where government have not intervened in the provision of irrigation or motorable roads to be able to carry this farm produce to the designated market, these cooperative societies, because of the pooling of funds, assist in those areas to ensure that those roads are motorable, to ensure that they provide other aspects of it, other aspects of assistance as regards irrigation and the rest, so that at the end of the day, their members will be able to have easy access to logistics and the rest. So it's very, very important that knowing fully well that the government cannot do everything, the cooperative also come in to put their own, to make their own impact, and make sure that their members have access to the required logistics that is needed. So they are doing a lot in that area to improve the rural areas while waiting for government.
Okay, so generally your advice to give your advice to those under the cooperative societies, farmers under it, in being able to fish out those that are not there for the genuine reasons,
Yes.
and then head on to what we are trying to achieve now, which is food sustainability.
Yes, for every farmer should identify with a cooperative society, because they are just like a family. That's the first point of call when there are challenges to be met. And they have the capacity to empathize with every farmer because they are in the same business. Another important thing is that for anyone that is aspiring to be a farmer, you need collective advice for those from those that are already in that sector, that are already in that segment that you want to come in, so that they can give you advanced information so that you will be able to do well in that area. So for any aspiring farmer or farmers that have started practicing, you need a family, which the cooperative society for farmers can do for you. And also for the collective body of the cooperative, I will advise that they continue to strive for information, strive for partnership with government and even multilateral agencies to be able to help their area, to be able to help their farmers, and to be able to improve the lot of the cooperative itself.
Okay, yes, I mean, we're aware that so many people do not know the role they play and how humongous it is in adding value to the society. I think this is one aspect that the cooperative society will look into. On that note, to wrap it up on today's episode of the program, thank you for joining us. I remain Amin Kejija Oluwatoyin. I'm saying bye for now.